Hello, my name is Kimberly Stewart-Lucas, also known as Warrior Mama, and this is Dish with the Doulas. Thank you for joining us. For real. Welcome to Dish with the Doulas. Today's another fabulous episode. And again, I'm professing it because I am joined today by my sister in all things, Christy Robinson of Cr8tive Birth Doula Services. Christy, welcome.
Welcome.
You're here.
Yeah, I'm here through the rain, all the amazing things that have taken place to get here. I'm very thankful for this experience.
It's not only Cr8tive Birth Doula Services, it's also Cr8tive Resourcing.
Absolutely.
That's the umbrella of everything.
Absolutely.
So I want to ask you, what led you to birth work?
Oh, my goodness. Well, that's simple. You.
Okay.
I have the honor and pleasure of being the mother to a 21-year-old young lady named Anye.
Yes.
And my birth experience was very different. Mm-hmm. It was birth by C-section. Mm-hmm. It was not the best circumstances that I had envisioned for myself. And so my first experience of being a woman who could actually experience and create her birth was through you and my beautiful godchildren. So that happened umpteen years ago with Solomon. Mm-hmm. I was planning on being present for that birth. And I was via the telephone.
Actually, before that, there's a picture that you were preparing the car. We were celebrating 8 years at the tattoo shop.
Yes.
And you had some concerns throughout the evening because I was celebrating and I'm, just acting as normal, not knowing I was in the first stage of labor.
Yes.
And I remember Christy wanting to get the car ready and get us out. So I remember her preparing the car and leading us to the car. There's an awesome picture by Thomas Tulis that he took of us.
Amazing.
But you were the one that ushered us out. There was something that you saw in me that I didn't know myself because it was my first time experiencing labor. But you were like, it's time.
Yes.
It's time. And we were planning a hospital birth at Northside that ended up passing.
Yes.
And ended up having the baby at home. I was with my mom at the time. And then we called you.
Yes, that's right.
That's where the phone came in.
The phone, I was just overwhelmed with the energy that was taking place at that time. Hearing you and your strength, powerful voice in the midst. And I only had my C-section experience where I had an epidural, I had a saddle block, I had all kind of drugs. So I was slurring. So for me, birth was very different. So to be on the phone and to hear you speaking with Kenyatta and to hear him making visual conversation for me about what was taking place, and then hearing that baby cry, that was my first experience. Because I had planned to go home, take Meredith to my house.
She said she heard me upstairs.
Yes, and heard me screaming. Awesome. So my plan was to go and to be there. So I was so thankful for being present in that way. And then so have it, my sister conceives, and Sarah is conceived. And I end up having the baptismal experience, the baptismal experience of, I would call my doulaship. And that was with you and I and Kenyatta in that sacred space.
And that's where, in my birth story, I write that was, I felt collective womanhood in that moment.
Yes.
I talked before about us co-chanting open, and you sang it as I was saying it.
Yes.
And I felt all of everybody, all the women rooting for us, all the women that were in the midst of giving birth themselves with us
Absolutely.
in that moment. And it was,
They were.
again, there was a tangible feeling. And then the birth story, the way I wrote it, a little different. You reminded me a month ago. I say in my birth story that you put your hands out to catch Sarah. We were on the bed. We were trying to do a water birth. And again, things change. And I ended up giving birth on the bed. So you say that I did what? I don't remember it.
Well, we're talking doulaship, right? So you were very comfortable with being on all fours
Yes,
in your
that was
birth.
my birth
That's
position.
your birth position.
That's my birth position.
And I was being inducted into all of those experiences. So as you moved into position, you actually told Kenyatta at one point, you know, you had your hand back there and you kind of orchestrated where he needed to be for a shot.
Yeah.
And I moved over and you let us know when you were getting ready to release Sarah. And so my thought was, I looked and I said, my goodness, is she just going to bounce off the bed? And so with that, I felt the spiritual unction to move in. And that's when she beautifully came out, but her head popped out first.
Yeah.
And she just looked at me. It was the absolute most divine experience I've ever had in my life. Her eyes opened up. My eyes opened up. We're Aries. We're looking at each other. It's absolutely phenomenal. I couldn't have created that. I'm sorry, I had a moment.
I love it.
And then she proceeded to come, and I knew that I had permission because that is such a, you know, such a beautiful moment. And I had no training at that time outside of spirit. And so when she graced my hands energetically, I felt the energy go up like a circuit down through the floor. I then took her and laid her next to you. You did a little roll over, and you see where
the trail.
that crawl, that beautiful birth crawl. And I just was amazed. But that was, I've had several baptismal moments in my life. I've had a spiritual one, which was actually Good Friday.
Yeah.
And then I had that one where I knew that I was called to do that work. And it was a part of my pastorate. It's I'm a pastor of birth all the way through transition and everything in between. My role is to walk with whomever I've been asked to walk with for as long as we have. And out of that, experiences, businesses, wonderful things come out. And for me, it's been several babies within my circle. And they almost all of my God babies now, because they're going to be mine for the rest of their life. That's part of our understanding is that, you know, it's a walk forever.
So from that moment in Sarah's birth to becoming a certified holistic doula, what was that process and what led you to the actual certification process?
So I actually started off, well, you and I have talked, and I was in love with Doula, who is your midwife.
Yes.
First of all, let me talk about Doula.
Okay. She'll be here at some point.
Statuesque, beautiful woman.
Yes.
Who you can look at and know that she commands a room, that she's a depth of knowledge.
Yes.
I didn't really know about birth outside of a hospital. So to have the experience with her where she was, I've heard about your all's consultations. I said, I believe I want to do that. It was about a year and some change later, probably about 2 years actually. And I started pursuing, well, how do I do this?
Yeah.
So I was led to ICAPA initially, which was great. It was I went through the certification and chose to hold, but went through all of the work. Wonderful, wonderful experience. Actually, I had a little manual that you got, and it helped you break
And
down.
CAPA stands for?
Childbirth and Postpartum Professional Association.
Okay.
Wonderful organization. Very loving, very supportive, a very diverse group of women from all over the United States at that time when I was there. And I enjoyed technique. They taught us a lot about technique, how to bring peace to the room, how to read a room. We got a bag of tricks. So I brought my actual bag of tricks. So one of the things we learned is this is a great way for a mom to relieve the pressure. When she puts her head in, her belly rests
Okay, so
here.
it goes around her head. Okay.
And then the father can hold it up, and it actually just lifts, gives her relief during certain moments. Some women use it to also turn baby.
That's when I first thought, when you pulled it out the bag, I was like, is that for spinning babies?
Yes, spinning babies
spinning
as well.
babies?
We
Yep.
talked about that. Check this out. A Home Depot paint stir.
What's that for?
This thing works wonders.
Okay.
When a woman is having sensations, if she needs to just bear down, and we don't have a birthing bar, her partner can hold this up. She can hold on to it. It has some edge to it, so for some women that feels very good. And then you can also hit pressure points in your hands.
Okay. Love it.
You know, so those are some of the things that I receive. Essential oils.
Smell is everything.
Yes.
The senses,
That's right.
touch,
But
everything.
every single thing is predicated on what that mom wants. So what's good for you may not be good for the others. So I know I've had some moms that don't want any smells.
Yeah.
Then there's some that would love, lavender. And there's some actual wonderful baby mixtures you can use.
Oh, lavender I used to take and put it in my hands.
And that's great.
Because it would just do something. It would take over and it would just soothe me.
Yes.
It would calm me.
We
But
can
yeah, we just
massage into your hand, massage into your feet. So, and being the servant to that experience of birth, for me, it's important to have some items, but you got to listen to what it is that they need.
And even when you have multiple births, the things that I did for Solomon,
That's right.
Sarah, and Sophia were all different. Now I'm aware of certain, like you said, the position to birth
Yes.
in, but touch. I remember for Sarah, touching the back of Kenyatta's, the stubble on his head.
Yes.
That was soothing for me. Who would have known that until that moment,
Yes, very intimate.
For Sophia's, it was that birth ball. So you're talking about the
Yes.
pressure, just rolling on the birth ball.
Yes.
And I remember it hitting, how it hit my stomach, how it hit my belly. That provided relief.
Yes.
Wouldn't know until I did it. So it wasn't like, well, it worked this time, there should work the next time.
That's right.
You have to be open to first knowing what you know, but then also being open to receive more downloads of what may work.
I live in
the
the
downloads.
downloads.
Let's talk about the God downloads.
The God downloads. It's everything.
It's everything.
It's everything. And so for me, when we create that space, that's what I got. ICAPA led me to my bag of tricks. My bag of
Having
opportunities, options.
Some of them may work. Some
Massage, all those things. And then I felt a little unsettled in my spirit.
Okay.
I desired an earthy, spiritual gathering of women. I desired, and this has been my life anyway, I desired a deeper discussion and connection with women, because I did not get the spiritual aspects as much from my ICAPA. And so we don't judge. It's just thank you and.
Move on.
Right? So my and was WAPIO.
From the Matrona.
The Matrona!
The Matrona.
The Matrona, a group of women who probably come from the ancients, the indigenous people from all around the world. Before we had hospitals, before we had all these things. And I came to her through Toliwa.
That's why I first met WAPIO.
Right.
Was at a women's genetic potential workshop.
Talk about that.
And also it was about homeopathy and how to make your
Yes.
own homeopathy kit and how to do the
Yes.
percussions. But in that
Yes.
genetic women's potential workshop, the one thing that just blows my mind, I'm going to say it again,
Yes.
is that when you are carrying your daughter,
That's right.
you are also carrying your potential grandbabies, because at month 4 or 5, your daughter in the womb forms all the eggs that she'll
Yes,
ever
that's
have.
right.
And so when I was carrying Sophia and Sarah, I was also carrying my potential grandbabies if they choose to have
That's
children.
right. That's right.
That was it. I was like, WAPIO!
Yes, that's right. That's right.
So, to me, I can only imagine training with her. She's an
Yes.
amazing woman.
Absolutely mind-blowing. And what I found was that's what I needed to solidify
That was
what
the next
creative
piece.
is, right? Because for me, I operate off of spirit. And so to be with her and to hear about the spiritual downloads and the affirmations for the body and to know that this is my tribe.
Yeah.
And to me, that's what birth is about. Birth is that child is coming to you through you because you are the portal for them to get to their tribe. That's it.
Tribe connecting tribes.
Tribe connecting tribes.
Yeah.
Experiences connecting experiences. People that come in and come out. Some stay, some leave. But all of them are designed to get us to our next.
Our next.
And so to me, that's what the doulaship's about, whether it's been with me walking with a mom or walking when they're transitioning out. It's the same exact experience. It's birth on both ends. And I became more and more aware of that as experiences show me. So I've had my beloved godchildren and people that have come into the world. I have a god grandbaby, and all of them I've been there to be part of their experience. And then I've also had the experience of my mom transitioning and my grandfather and other people who have been so dear. Jamila, right? And that is another birth.
Yeah.
So when we talk about birth, we know we have bookend births.
Yeah.
You know?
Bookend births.
So you have the portal in, birth, and you have the portal out, birth. And so that's what I do. Very, it's a very humbling,
All-encompassing.
powerful. Same things are needed.
Exactly.
The exact same things are needed. How do you want your atmosphere when you come in?
Who do you want around?
Who do you want around? What do you want it to sound like, smell like? And for me, spiritually, it's very experiential. Everything's experiential. So I've had house music to classical music being played, depending on who the mom is,
what she
right?
wants.
To silence. One of the things Wapio also shared with us is that she's really unassisted. She doesn't touch.
That's totally why, which comes from that.
Right.
She is as involved as she needs to be
Yes.
or not involved.
That's right.
She's able to survey the area.
Yes.
And for us, it was putting down a mat
Yes.
and stepping out.
Yes. Yes. And let spirit have spirit's way, because that is your dance with the divine. That's what that is. It's a dance that only you can do. And often I know sometimes, and even in some of the other experiences I've had, you bring your full self to the birthing experience. So if you're a person that may have felt denied nurture, that mom may want me to grab hold of her.
Exactly.
You
She
know?
wants the involvement.
That's
She wants the
right.
touch.
That's right.
She
She
wants
may
the
need
support,
that.
her hand held.
Handheld, feet rubbed. It was funny at one of my recent births on February 14th,
On
one of my
Valentine's
god
Day.
babies, Omari. The mom was in her space, and she was reconciling with her God as to, do I want medication or do I not? The doula's responsibility is not to make
Not to make
decisions.
decisions. Nope.
We listen and we advocate,
Yes.
right? So all of my moms have a they say plan, but it's just an agreement with themselves that you can always change,
Yep.
right? So as she was having that conversation with herself, she reached up and she grabbed me and she put her head right here in between my breasts. And then she was like, no, because it was too much. It was too much.
But she had to experience it.
She went in and she
to
went
figure it out.
That's right.
Yeah.
So she didn't need that touch. She thought she needed it. She didn't need
realized
it.
she didn't need
The
it.
doula's responsibility is to be present.
Yeah.
Not to take it personal, to just flow. And then we were able to kind of get everyone into position. I'm also there for the fathers and or partner. You know, often they don't have a voice in that space. And it can be a very overwhelming. You see this person that you've created this life with going through all these
All the
moments.
changes, yeah.
So it's an opportunity, and that's the work on the front end. I really enjoyed listening to Tamika's, and because that's the front end work.
Yes.
I
And
have-
having that time to connect
Yes.
and learn each other and learn about experiences and the fears and the concerns, because it will show
Yes.
itself, whether you talk about it or not,
It's going to
it's
show
going to
up.
show up in that birth. And
Yes.
Tamika was talking about the transition.
Yes.
That's when it comes.
Oh, absolutely. And sometimes even before that,
Yep.
because I've had some partners that just didn't feel comfortable. And so my experience when I have the opportunity to be with my family early is we practice.
Yes.
We practice.
So it's not brand spanking new.
No, that's right.
But even sometimes if it's brand spanking new, it's like, okay, well, let's try it. If you're open to it, though.
That's
you have
right.
to be open to it.
And that's what we work through. What are the things that she desires to hear from you? Now, intimacy and sexuality always pop up. So if you're a man that really experienced nurture and intimacy, it'll show up. If you're a man that is not quite sure, or a partner that's not quite sure,
It'll
show up. So we practice.
Yeah.
We practice. We practice rubbing the lobes
touch,
and the ears. We know if we stimulate the nipples, that helps stimulate the womb.
Yes.
There's some that actually have sensual experience right there in the room, orgasmic birth. You have the opportunities to all of those things.
And there are a lot of people that don't even know that that's an option.
Absolutely.
That's
And we talk
the
about
piece.
it.
Everything is not for everyone, but just at least know what's on the table or what's available or what's possible.
That's right.
And then you kind of choose from the buffet.
That's
but,
right.
Some people only think there's one item. There's only one way,
And there's absolutely
And
not.
that's where, to me, doulas come in because the training and the knowledge that you have and the experiences, you've seen it happen in different ways.
Yes.
So you bring that, the choices. Because there are a lot of people,
Yes.
like I said, Google's our friend, but
Yes.
you may not want to see it off of a computer screen or your phone.
That's right.
You want to actually talk to people and hear from people about, okay, what are some other options?
That's right.
So-
That's right. And who are you? So I do a lot of work. That's when my pastoral role. Who are you? What is your family of origin? What did you grow up believing?
What's the language that you've been using?
That's right. Who do you see yourself as? And who do you think everyone else sees you as? How are you feeling about this being that's getting ready to come out into the world? All those are so important conversations. And then knowing the their spiritual language, So some may be Christians, some may not. Some may be, into metaphysics, and some may be into the all different types of expressions of
But
spirit.
meeting people where they are.
You have to be clear.
Yeah.
And that's the same in the hospital. So I've done unassisted. Thank you, Kimberly.
You're welcome.
And I've also had the experience of laboring in a hospital and that mother being very clear. She didn't want doctors touching her until a certain point. Then there's also been totally medically supported.
Exactly.
And every single one, for me, every single one is open to how you want to bring your baby in. Our job is not to judge it. Our job is to allow you to experience what you are calling forth and your baby to be with you in the best time possible, in the way that you and Spirit decide. That's it. That's it. So there's no judgment.
Yeah.
But I do think information is critical.
It's critical.
And like I said, I knew nothing about it until you. And that's the beauty of this, that you're sharing this information so that women have the opportunity to choose and have resources. So I'm just eternal. And when I put this on, I thought about you because, you did that for us.
Yeah.
You did that for me, and you did it for birth.
And these, I didn't talk about them in the last episodes. I've been wearing them, and I'll wear them probably every episode whenever I do birth work. These are my labor necklaces that were created for me in blessing ways. And we could go on and on and on and talk so much more about what we have done creatively together. But labor necklaces, all of the guests that came brought beads, whether they were from their jewelry or from family members or just even trinkets that made them think of me. And I wore these. This is Sarah and Sophia's labor necklaces I wore actually during labor. How can people connect with you?
They can reach out to me through you and your network. Also, my email address is Pastor Christy Robinson, Christy Robinson @gmail.com. And we'll see what's mixed up. The blessing way begins the moment you recognize that you are the vessel for birth. So that's my thing. Just continue to bless the way.
Bless the way.
Bless the way. And then the doula will appear.
So you've summed it up. We're going to go into the after show, which I think is going to be, and bless this food, that Disha from Two Pieces of Toast. I think that's going to be what's going to happen, is that the after segment is where we're going to start eating, right? Because this, I've been listening like,
I love you so.
Talk to me some more, Christy. I love you. I've known you since I was 12 years old, and you're my sister. Okay, so please connect with us on Warrior Mamas on IG, Warrior Mamas on Facebook. Everything can be found on YouTube. Twitter, I'm not so much on Twitter. I do my best. But it's been another great episode. Thank you all so much for being here and joining us. Thank you, Christy, for being here and sharing.
Absolutely. And know this, I will always be here.
Thank you. This is Dish with the Doulas and midwives too. Join us again for another episode very soon. Thank you.